Hey everyone, I'm Grant and welcome back to the channel. And before we get started, I just want to say the next couple of videos are going to be slightly out of order because I am trying to figure out how to combine the wiring required for the TDI with all of the wiring harness in my TJ Wrangler. And I'm having to wait for parts to come in, so there's a lot of stuff in flight right now that you will see in future videos, but we're not going to see today. And what I realized is, to test the TDI before I start mounting everything, there's a couple other things I have to get done first. So I'm going to put those videos out first, making sure the TDI is wrapped up before tackling the wiring. So with that said, today we are focusing on the transmission. There are a couple of things with the Ford 6R80 that I have not done yet. So here's the list. First off, I need to install the starter, which was the whole reason why I had pulled the engine out with Jacob's help. Huge shout out to Jacob, thank you so much, and put it back in. That plate is now there, and that plate centers this ring here, so I'm going to be installing the starter tonight. The other thing I need to do, and I realize I haven't done, is install the torque converter bolts from the flex plate to the torque converter. So I will be doing that next. And finally, and the most expensive part, is installing this flexible locking dipstick from B&M. Now, right now there is a dipstick on the Ford 6R80, but it's a little stubby thing, and with the way my exhaust routes, I'd have to get around my exhaust pipe to check the fluid or if I wanted to add any, and it's kind of a pain. Now, earlier this week, I went ahead and tapped the holes in this bracket here and here. And I did that so I had a good way of mounting it. And I tapped them for a M6x1 thread, which is kind of my go-to for small bolts on this rig. I have been using that pretty much from day one, almost 4 years ago. With that said, I'm going to start by getting the starter installed onto the Ford 6R80. So we're going to get to it. I think I'm going to go ahead and clock my starter. This is a clockable starter that I gotten for the Ford 6R80. And originally I had it down like this for clearance for the Kubota, and I can't remember what I was trying to make room for anymore. Maybe it was the intake? I can't remember. But hold on, I'm gonna kind of see where this is at. Yeah, but if I rotated it up like that, it would be completely out of the way. Yeah. So I am going to take apart the starter, because right now it goes in like this, and I want this solenoid here to be more like that, because I have a ton of room to make that happen, and this will be far away from the exhaust that I don't have to worry about the exhaust hitting it. Though I probably am still going to wrap the exhaust just to limit how much heat I am pushing through this engine bay. So I'm going to get to modifying this. So I don't know if you can see it, but I now have the starter installed. And what I'm now going to do is install the fasteners through the flex plate into my custom torque converter from Circle D. Now, what's interesting is I almost have this lined up perfectly, because I can see where a bolt is right there, but I think I'm still going to have to rotate the entire assembly to be able to get everything installed, which is kind of ironic, but we'll get there. The first one's always the most difficult. Once you have the first bolt in, you can start spinning the engine with the crankshaft or however you want to, and it just becomes much, much easier. So yeah, I'm going to jump right into it. We have all the fasteners going through our flex plate into our custom billet torque converter. So this is now done. With that said, I'm now going to move the camera back up top, and we are going to figure out how to mount and install the dipstick onto this Ford 6R80. Alright, I actually kind of lucked out here. This is going to be kind of easy. So, this is the original dipstick on the Ford 6R80. You take this cap off, you lift this out, and it's two tiny marks here. So I'm going to try to stand in front of the camera. So I don't know if you can see this, but if I line this up like this, what it is, and it's kind of hard to see, basically the end of the indent on here is right at the low mark, and right at halfway up this stick is the high mark. So I'm actually not going to mark this just because that's actually kind of easy to remember. Now, I'm not going to do that. Well, yeah, I'm going to pull this piece off so I can tighten that in. I'm going to pull this out so when I go to install this tube, it's easier to do. And again, I'm going to wrap it over the transmission, but once I have that wrapped over, I'm going to mount this like this, and I'm going to do it the same way I mounted my electric water pump for my water to air intercooler, mostly because that worked really well. So I'm actually really happy with how this came out. And these lined clamps with rubber are amazing. Now I need to get another one. I didn't get one big enough, but I'm going to get one more, and I need to replace this top bolt from my transmission to the crank, or to the engine adapter, excuse me, because it's in there, but it's not quite long enough. So what I'm going to do is pull that bolt out, get a longer one, and also get a bigger clamp. So when I replace that bolt, I'll have it here and make it so this goes here, and that will just tuck this out of the way of everything. And this really isn't in the way of anything either. So that is going to work very, very well. And again, it's locking, so it's watertight and everything from the elements. I don't have to worry about fluid getting in my transmission. But the nice thing is I also now have a very easy way of adding fluid to my Ford 6R80. That's all I have for this video. I am very happy with the progress. We have the starter installed but not wired up. We have the fasteners through the flex plate into my custom torque converter from Circle D. And we have the flexible locking dipstick installed on the 6R80 as well. Again, just a quick reminder, I have a couple of things in flight on this all at once. So I'm going to try to assemble videos with work that all makes sense together. But anyway, that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Goodbye.